The Australian outback is defined by its vastness. Towns like Alice Springs sit completely surrounded by hundreds of miles of quiet, expansive desert. At 11 p.m. on a quiet April night, that isolation became a severe threat. A 5-year-old girl disappeared from her family's town camp. Following Aboriginal cultural protocols, she is referred to as Kumanjayi. Those who knew her described a deeply loved, energetic child. She was last seen holding hands and walking into the darkness with a man her family knew, Jefferson Lewis. When her family realized she was gone, emergency services were called. However, the darkness of the desert night severely limited their initial reach. Authorities were now racing against the falling temperatures to locate a child exposed to the elements. Police launched a massive response, joined by hundreds of volunteers, fanning out across the terrain. Helicopters and drones took to the sky to scan the isolated areas that ground teams couldn't reach on foot. Specialist investigators and police dogs tracked scents through dense gum trees and tall, heavy brush. This map shows the scale of the operation. The search grid eventually covered over 80 square kilometers of rough territory. Searchers worked through the night, but with every passing hour, the statistical likelihood of a safe recovery dropped. The logistical scale of the operation transformed the town into a command center for a rescue mission facing impossible geography. The focus of the investigation narrowed to the dry, sandy banks of the Todd River. While reconstructing Kumanjayi's movements, detectives found her clothing and other personal items discarded in the sand. The riverbed was immediately locked down. Volunteer searchers were pulled back, and the site became a major forensic crime scene. Following the discovery, authorities officially issued an arrest warrant for Jefferson Lewis. The presence of physical evidence in the riverbed shifted the police protocol toward the pursuit of a known suspect. This map illustrates how the manhunt expanded, pushing far beyond the town limits of Alice Springs. Police deployed resources across state lines, coordinating an extensive search for the fugitive deep into Western Australia. By day 5, the search in Alice Springs had reached a critical threshold. Search teams finally found young Kumanjayi's body. The Northern Territory Police publicly confirmed that the rescue mission was over and a formal homicide inquiry had begun. The search reached its 120th hour with the confirmation of the community's absolute worst fears. As news of the discovery hit Alice Springs, the town's grief was overtaken by extreme tension. Hours later, Jefferson Lewis was located, but before law enforcement could secure the scene, members of the local community intercepted him. A volatile crowd surrounded him, and a violent assault broke out on the street. Police and paramedics were forced into a dangerous extraction, pushing through the mob to pull the suspect out alive. Lewis was transported under heavy guard to the Alice Springs Hospital, while riots and unrest erupted outside the building. The raw anger of the crowd reflected a fracture in civic trust, as residents bypassed the legal system to exact their own justice. Police formally charged Lewis with murder and 2 counts of sexual assault. These charges remain legal allegations until they are determined by the courts. The trauma in Alice Springs resonated nationally, triggering a series of questions about the safety of remote communities. The case reignited intense scrutiny over failures in monitoring repeat offenders and the lack of basic protections for vulnerable children. It highlighted the lack of resources and policing support dedicated to remote outback areas. Kumanjayi was a deeply loved 5-year-old child whose life ended in the desert amidst these adult failures. Her death became an undeniable indictment of a national safety net that allowed a vulnerable citizen to slip through the cracks.